+4 is a great 3D printer for technical filaments, but what about Q2? And why is my Qidi box in the box? I had few problems with this printer during the review, and for each of them I contacted Qidi. And they know about every issue I mentioned and they have a solution for it, but I don't have time for all fixes in this video, so there will be a second part because even the Qidi box will be replaced, not only mine but for every purchase. Let's jump into the video now. Hello, welcome to my Tech Fun, another 3D printer review video. This is Qidi Q2, and these two boxes are sent to me by the Qidi Tech in exchange for the review. There is no additional payment, but I know that many of you still consider this as a sponsored video. Okay, maybe it is, but for me actually it is sponsored but by my Patreon supporters and by Polymaker, who became a channel sponsor. Let's talk more about this printer. If you watch the category of 3D printers ready for technical filaments, definitely the Q2 is on the budget side. And why it is ready for these filaments? Well, mostly because of the temperatures. The actively heated chamber up to 65 degrees Celsius, nozzle up to 370 degrees Celsius, on the bed 120 degrees Celsius. It has some other improvements too, and definitely I can see improvements compared to the previous printers, X-Max 3 or even +4, but I will talk about them later. Let's see a few other specifications. It has a 1.5 GT belt, which should reduce the VFAs. Similar like +4, it reduces not completely and they will appear on different speeds, but yes, definitely it helps against this. The build volume is 270 in X and Y direction and 256 millimeters along the Z-axis. With the +4, I had a problem when I print PLA, for example, on 60 degrees Celsius or some other technical filaments with 110 degrees Celsius on the bed and maybe actively heated chamber. I always had to adjust that Z offset. It was not so constant. But here this should be solved because now it uses the nozzle for the touch and for the zeroing and homing, and this should solve this problem. And really nice improvement is that it has flame retardant chamber, which is important from the safety reason nowadays with these high temperature 3D printers. Now let's talk about Qidi Box. It can accept 4 spools and we can have those color printings with a lot of waste material. But for me more important that I can have some main material and some other as a support. Now another important specifications of this unit is that it can be used as a dryer. 65 degrees Celsius is the max temperature and it can also dry during the printing. Another important specifications of Qidi Box is that it can accept those abrasive filaments, carbon fiber, glass fiber, because it has a hardened pulleys and similar. Now, to be honest, my main issue with this kind of filaments is not the friction, yeah, it is also, but that they are very brittle. And I'm very curious how much they will be bended inside, because if they are bended too much, they will break inside those Teflon tubes. But this will be tested too, of course. These two boxes are also sent to me by the Qidi Tech. This is PPA-CF, and this is the support material for the PA12 and PET filaments. And for this actually we need some kind of color changing system, but in most cases the PPA-CF cannot go into those regular units. Also, I'm starting the review video of the odorless ABS and the Ultra ABS GF25, and the test objects will be printed in this video, but of course the review will be in a separate video. These two filaments will also be used in this video. They already have their own review. PPS-CF, this requires high temperatures, far above 300 degrees Celsius, and this is Ultra PA-CF25 based on PPA. The filament itself is very brittle, and I'm curious it will survive the Qidi box, but the final object is extremely strong. What? I want me to test it with the PLA too. Okay, basically I can print those penguins. That's the only multicolor object I actually need, even if I have a lot of waste materials. I will see maybe a few other things, but let's see what's in the box. Qidi box and printer arrived in the two separate boxes. Inside the printer box, everything is well protected during the shipping. Don't forget to take out the small toolboxes. Let's take a closer look inside. On X-axis it uses linear rails. On Y-axis linear rods with linear ball bearings, and these are 8 mm in diameter. The belt thickness is 7 mm approximately, and the pitch is 1.5 mm, which will reduce the VFAs. I'm curious where the Teflon tubes goes when we have the glass on the top. Below it maybe. I'm curious how much bending will it have in this position. That's the opening for the purge material and the nozzle cleaning. And we can insert some carbon filter here. Let's check the doors. Oh, and this is the maximum opening angle. Two-sided textured PI sheet. Size 280 mm in X and Y direction. And it has nice stoppers on the back side. It is magnetic. It is important to remove these screws, which are used to fix the bed during the transportation. But of course you will get this warning probably even on the screen or user manual. This is a second generation chamber heater, how they call it. And on the other side we can see the aux fan for additional part cooling. 4.3-inch touchscreen. And there is a USB plug on the right side. Cable is connected, installing the screen into holes, down, and then right. Spool cannot be too heavy, but for 1 kg spool it's fine. If you use bigger spools, probably you want to use some holder on the desk. Another nice feature of the top glass. First of all, we can lock it for better sealing. But if we print PLA, we want more ventilation and we can push it back. And we have this warning written on the glass too for PLA and TPU to open this. I would suggest to do this with the PTG2. Let's unbox the Qidi Box 2. So this is the Qidi Box from the inside. We have these openings and it says do not place desiccant inside. Probably here comes in the hot air rollers. I can see inlet is maybe metallic, which is much better than the plastic, which will not wear out so fast. And it looks like it is sitting on the glass. It would be better if it would be mounted somehow on the frame, because now that glass sliding we have to do together with this multicolor system. Only it's harder to move it, especially if I will have 4 spools inside. In user manual we have separate instructions how to connect Qidi Box with the +4 or Q2. And for the +4 we will have this multicolor kit for the upgrade, but Q2 is already prepared for this and it is much simpler. Let's turn it on. The Qidi Box is not connected yet. Actually, I can just connect the power and connect the screen, and then it will give me the instructions how to unbox it. But I already did most of these things, except the styrofoam below the bed. Now it's doing some kind of self-checking. And now auto calibration, and the auto leveling is the first step. And of course, input shaping. They told me to update the firmware, and I already copied the files to this USB drive. Offline update. Confirm. And I'm getting the warning to repeat the calibration. I notice it offers a firmware update, online update, but then I get a warning that firmware version temporarily does not support Qidi Box. Looks like from software side, not 100% finished product. Everything is connected on the back side too, and it's quite messy. Let's start with some PLA. It's quite noisy. Okay, let's start with the Benchy. And it started closer to the aux fan. It looks fast, especially with the infill, and the default settings 210 on the nozzle and 60 on the bed. Oh, printing is at 60%, and I forgot to open the doors, and the temperature went up to 36 degrees Celsius. Oh, it's noticeably louder now. The noise from half-meter distance, around 52 decibels, and with doors opened, around 59. So overall, if this top panel is opened and the front doors are closed, then the noise is somewhere between the closed and open doors. Bed adhesion check, but it should be okay. It's still hot. Yes. The bed is 33 degrees Celsius. Okay. Now even now there is some fan inside which is working, so you don't have completely quiet standby position, but at least it's not loud. About the Benchy, it's completely fine, especially here on the front side, because it was facing that aux fan. Only on the back side, because this was the farthest point from that aux fan. Interesting, even on this small overhang it needs more part cooling, but don't forget I started to print with closed doors. And maybe this bridging on the top could be a little bit nicer. I'm not sure, this looks weird a little bit. Otherwise, fine Benchy. And this is Qidi Studio. Q2 is on the list, so I can add the printer. And the Benchy will be the first object which I prepared the G-code. And I'm uploading over the network. I'm always more curious about the quality of the Benchy sliced by me instead of that prepared G-code. And this is how time-lapse looks like if you forgot the protection foil on the camera. This one is the new one and it is definitely better, except this whole line interesting, it is more visible on this one, but I can see improvement in the print quality, especially here on the top of the cabin. Definitely it is much better now. The bed level test with the PLA first, this became my regular testing method, and later with the ABS, and again I can see that I forgot to clean the bed surface. I can see my fingerprints on it. Pay attention to these Teflon tubes, how it rips against the top glass. So I think it is too low, some kind of riser should be used here. I'm not sure how much you can see on the screen. These are my fingerprints, I forgot to clean the bed, but otherwise this area is perfectly fine. And here I can see that the nozzle is just a little bit lower, but otherwise it is completely acceptable because the second layer will completely cover it. And I'm curious how it looked like with the ABS. Let's remove this quickly. And the layer lines are actually completely connected everywhere. Next test will be a longer PLA printing, 5.5 hours approximately. And I'm not sure what is this Labubu madness between the kids, but I need several from this as a gift. And unfortunately don't ask me for the link because the author removed it from the Maker's World. By the way, if you want a cleaner picture from your camera, don't forget to take off the protection foil. Time-lapse with the protection foil on the camera. And this is when I remove it. Let's say I did it on purpose, just for presentation purposes. It's finished, but not in 23 hours. Definitely it needs improvement on the software side. And this time it sticks too good to this PI sheet. I don't know, maybe the Z offset is not so constant. I have to be very careful. Otherwise no issue with this print quality, everything is fine, but it's time to move to the color printing. It will be finished later. Now the removing of the filament is a little bit tricky. Look at this. And I'm sure that it cannot stay like so. Now let's print those penguins, and these are the colors I will use. And also I noticed that the Qidi Box is more sensitive to the size of the spool. These are bamboo spools, they are perfectly fine, but just a little bit bigger or smaller, and Qidi Box don't really like those spools. The start is nice, currently it is changing the filament, and still 6 more hours of printing. This is just a time-lapse speed-up video to present you the ratio of the layer printing and filament changing time. And this is one of the slowest multicolor systems I tested so far. For the filament change it needs approximately 2.5 minutes. And I'm printing these penguins with all default settings for this material. Printing is at 66% and 2 more hours and 14 minutes until the finish. And currently this is the amount of the waste material. I'm not sure what is happening, but the purge is not on correct place. Oh. Layer shift. What happened here? Oh, look at that. Purge stuck on the back side. And I'm not repeating this printing. Ouch, that wasn't too healthy. This material stuck in the pod opening and I didn't notice it. So until this height everything is okay. The colors are clean, so the project material is enough. Okay, problem solved. Quite unique. From Qidi support, they suggested me to replace the wiping device with the spare one which is included in the package, so they know about this issue and this is the video I got from them. Let's move to the ABS. Odorless ABS, and this is Ultra ABS GF25, and they will be compared in a separate video. Now with this ABS I want to do that bed leveling test on 100 degrees Celsius too. Start angle 25. Around 80. These are older filaments and they are not recognized automatically, but they exist in the list. In the meantime, from Qidi I got another offline firmware update. Firmware updated, now I'm getting this error message. And of course, after firmware update, the calibration is important. The start is good and default settings for these materials are 90 on the bed, 55 chamber temperature and 250 on the nozzle. Let's see the result. Not bad. Interesting to see when I take it out it was almost quite good, only here it was a little bit lower, but now when the ABS is shrinking I can see slowly it starts to remove from the build surface. In my eyes, this completely succeeded in this test. I am printing all the subjects at once and I have several for the impact test because I'm testing new machine. I use some glow stick on the build surface just in case. Finish completely with default settings for this material. And thanks to the glow stick, it sticks good even to this textured PL sheet. And then I moved to the glass fiber ABS, but as you can see it was fine until this point and now it just stopped without any visible reason. And it freezes in this position. I cannot do anything with the screen. I have to turn off the switch on the back side, but the nozzle is on 270 degrees Celsius, which is not too healthy. And now I'm getting this error message, so even if I turn off and on the printer, it cannot boot and it's stuck in this position. I don't know, I'll try to restart the firmware, I don't have other idea. Interesting, after firmware restart, it offered me to continue the printing, but I don't know, let's try that. It is heating up the bed, and I am just curious if it will continue really, but I will stop the printing anyway, and I will restart from the beginning, just in case. And interesting, it could continue the printing. But I will stop it anyway. Actually continue the printing with a layer shift, so it is good that I stopped. Okay, let's try to reprint this. Maybe I figured out what is the problem. In a slicer, default settings for this glass fiber ABS, 45 on the box temperature and 0 chamber temperature. Until with the regular ABS, which I printed without any problems, 55 on the chamber temperature and 0 on the box. So anytime when I have something related to the box, it failed. So I set the box temperature to 0, chamber temperature to 50 degrees Celsius, and now let's see the reprint. And the second start is good without any problems. I hope it will stay like so. And also I reduced the bed temperature. There is no need for 100 degrees Celsius. It sticks good even on 90 with the glow. Main test subjects are almost printed and this time it will be okay. 8 more minutes of printing. And this time without any problems. And I got a perfect printing. The adhesion is great, but removable. And now let's move to the PPA-CF filament, and also want to try this support material designed for the PA12 and the PET. And don't forget, we cannot use this kind of systems in the regular AMS or similar units because they cannot accept abrasive filaments. Now, this kind of color changing systems creates a lot of waste, which is not good with the expensive filaments, but there are many mechanical parts where we need this separation layer only in 2 or 3 lines. And look at this bag is resealable on the longer side. This material looks brittle. Oh, let's measure it. Start angle 30 degrees. Around 70. This is quite brittle. If it will survive, then everything can. And how brittle is PPA-CF? This is also brittle. Let's measure it. Start angle 30 degrees. Also around 70. A replacement plate for the camera tripod, and in this lighter color you can see the support material. And I can set now the Z distance to 0, it will be much nicer. Support for PET, okay. Extruder loading failure, I have the feeling that it was broken somewhere. Not sure if you can see, this is quite a lot of bending, and this top glass is just in the way, which actually increases the problem, reduces the bending radius. Later from Qidi support I got a suggestion to use the riser, and I got the STL5 from them. I should print it from PETG. I will, but not for this video. Oh, and it's heating the Qidi box. Maybe this is causing the problem again. Let me check in the slicer. I checked the default settings, first for PPA-CF, and again I can see that the chamber temperature is 0 and box temperature 55. And same for the support material, so I switched these 2 temperatures. I'm not sure, is this on purpose? Extruder loading failure. I know I just checked, the filament is not broken, at least not in this part. Maybe inside the Qidi box, I'm not sure. Let's remove the filament. And it is still heating, but theoretically it's turned off. Weird. Again I'm getting some weird messages. It's PPA-CF, yes. It started with the drying automatically. Okay, stop this, please. I turn off everything, all temperatures to 0, and I remove the spools, but it is still heating. I'm done with this Qidi box. I am disassembling, and I want to try these filaments directly on the printer. The Qidi box is completely removed, and I will use the external spool holder and continue with the PPA-CF. Can you see how much smaller is the bending of this Teflon tube? Now imagine if it is pressed with this glass. I can feel that it is pulled, and without Qidi box the loading of the filament is completely smooth. And look at that, now it is printing. Of course I don't have the advantage of using supports in different materials, but at least it's printing. The printing is at 50% and I can see that it will be fine. Actually without glue it would stick too good. But now it's removable, only have to clean the supports. Now I had this comment earlier, if I want to unload the filament there is no need for the homing along the Z-axis. In X and Y it is okay, but this means that I cannot have any object on it. Because sometimes I want to remove the filament immediately after the printing. And if somebody cares about my opinion, I really like these longer holes, because even these brittle filaments I can insert, because here I cannot. If I bend it, it will break immediately. See? So these holes are really great, and these holes not. They are too small for brittle filaments. Now, interesting information I got recently. They told me that PPS-CF can go into the Qidi box, the Ultra PPA-CF 25 not, because it is too brittle. Of course I'm not using the Qidi box anymore, but let's measure the brittleness of the filament. PPS-CF start angle 29 degrees. 69. It's quite brittle. This is Ultra PPA-CF 25 based on PPA, start angle 28 degrees. around 70, so less brittle compared to the PPS-CF. PPS-CF external spoon holder. And at this point I can really feel that it is hard to press the filament into the extruder because of this bending. But now it is much easier. And without the glass, the loading of the filament is smooth. And now I can place it back. The start is great. Here you can see my print settings. I'll raise the temperature to 340 degrees Celsius because this will be a real functional part and I need a better layer adhesion. And unfortunately around 80% this printing failed and I'm not really sure what is the reason. I'm just checking is the filament broken somewhere, but I cannot see anything. It looks okay to me. And now after I turn it on again, it offers me to continue the printing, but I think it will not be okay, but let's try. No, I don't want to update the firmware. It's heating up the nozzle. Huge layer shift. Oh. So as you can see, it continued the printing, so the problem was not a broken filament or something similar. So I'm not sure what happened here, but it couldn't finish this printing. But even then this part is almost functional. It's a hex bit holder. I hate to finish the video with failed printing, so one more printing from this Ultra PPA-CF 25. And anyway, it is less brittle and it requires lower temperatures too. The filament is loaded, and without top glass the filament loading is always much smoother. The object is this small, but it's still doing the auto leveling on the whole surface, which is not necessary. And I think on +4 it was solved correctly. It just scanned the area where the printing will be located. And again, great first layer, and this is very important improvement compared to the +4. 5 more minutes and it will be finished. And this time it was finished correctly. It's this element on my new wearing test machine. With Qidi Tech, I really like that they improved their printers from generation to generation. Their X-Max 3 was their first really good printer and I used it a lot. Only a few smaller issues I had there, like very slow firmware update, resistive screen which we have to press a little bit, or that acrylic glass is curved exactly on the height of the nozzle and I don't have clear view to the printing. And all those issues are fixed on +4. Only one problem I had there, that's not so constant Z offset if I print PLA or let's say ABS with a chamber heater, because that leveling sensor is sensitive to temperature. And this is solved now with the Q2, because it uses the nozzle for the touch. Additionally, I can see some nice safety upgrades here, second generation chamber heater, flame retardant housing and similar. But I can see some degrades in the softer side. I believe that main reason for all these problems is the Qidi Box, because this company is also forced to create these material-based multicolor systems, because this is a trend now, and they are quite late, because soon, I believe next year, we will see a tool changer invasion, and they still don't have this AMS-like unit. So I believe that they are trying to fix this as soon as possible, and they are trying to force this into the market too early, because this is not ready yet. I know this is my experience. There will be a second video when I fix all these issues and maybe I will get a replacement Qidi Box. But the companies must learn that if they send me unfinished product, then it will be presented in the video. If you have some other experience, then few lines down in the comment section. Thank you for watching this video and happy printing.